accepts the stream.
I won't say anything inappropriate.
Okay. Waiting for acceptance. Come on. Oh, how nice. Facebook has accepted the stream. YouTube has accepted the stream. And Twitch has accepted the stream. So now I go over there and we notify our friends. Let's see here.
And this list of friends, how many people?
Whoever you want me to invite.
No, okay. No, I just thought you had an automatic list of people that, like 100 people or 10 people or 5 people. So it's different every time.
this in the studio. It will be. Okay, so I believe everything is ready to go.
Cool.
So all I got to do is hit this button.
And that's the official start of the
It'll say on the air. See?
on the air. Okay.
Okay, Guy, you're on the air. Okay, we made it.
Yeah.
We
It's
made
been
it.
several years, man.
Yeah. So I'm going to put up our artificial intelligence in case we need to ask it a question. Essentially, do you know what my impression is of this new artificial intelligence phenomena we're in?
Well, you seem enamored of it.
My impression
Fascinated
is
by it.
that we all do Google searches.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say you wanted to find out all the movies that that particular actor you just mentioned his
Koji
name,
Yakusho, yeah.
was in.
Yeah.
You would put it in Google, and then a whole lot of websites would come up, and you would have to go one by one to see if it had the exact thing you want.
Okay.
The nice thing about this Gemini artificial intelligence made by Google, who also did the thing, it's like it scans all the websites and it finds exactly what you want and summarizes it.
Which is helpful.
It is. It is.
For sure. Yeah.
So we have that as an option now in front of us here. We can ask it a question.
So if we're stuck, if our memory doesn't serve us as well as we would like it to, we can get some assistance.
Yeah, like I'll ask it,
Call a friend.
what movies? Well, yeah, call a friend. His name is Kenji.
Koji Yakusho, I believe.
Yakusho.
I think so, yeah.
In. And then you hit this.
Did I get it right?
We'll find out. It's searching, scanning.
Okay.
Scanning. Let's see. He's a renowned Japanese actor.
First, did I get the name right? Koji Yakusho?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Okay. All right.
His first movie was Shall We Dance?
Okay. Haven't seen that, but I heard of it.
That was in 1996. He was in Memoirs of a Geisha.
Okay.
He's a businessman in a historical drama of the life of a geisha. Babel, all right? He's a deaf-mute Japanese woman's father. Okay? He was in 13 Assassins.
Which is a remake of a really good, great movie.
I wonder if that's the one Christopher Walken was in.
No. I think that's an exclusively Japanese film.
Okay.
Yeah.
A good movie?
The original was brilliant. Yeah.
Who was the director?
Eiichi Kudo, I believe is his name. Yeah.
Is he known for...
It's a really good film. He was known for samurai films and action films and that kind of thing. And that really, I just found out about it by accident, and it really took me off guard. It was a brilliant film. I didn't see the remake, so I can't really judge. You know.
So, okay, so we have that. Now, we're here to discuss the movie Perfect Days.
Yeah.
Which is the last movie that Yakusho was in.
Yeah.
Was it a good choice for your lead actor?
That's not for me to judge, but I thought he was wonderful in the movie. You know.
Okay.
I thought before I answer that question though, let's go back a little bit and talk about a couple of things. First of all, this is our first show.
Yeah.
We Are All Projectors. What made, and I think that was your title, what made you come up with that title?
Because we are projecting our interpretation onto the movie.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it in one of your emails to me.
Okay, I thought that might have been.
When you were preparing a psychology class.
Right. Yeah. Because we all see things from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time something's being projected onto a screen for us to interpret. So I think it's a great title.
So you and I,
Kudos to
we
you.
might come up with an interpretation of this movie that the director did not intend.
Yeah, well, I hope so, or at least find something in it that maybe others don't recognize right away. Hey, Joel, how's it going, buddy?
I love that. I
good
love
question.
that philosophical question,
If a tree
Mr.
falls in the
Joel.
woods and no one is there to hear it, does it make a sound?
It's
Yeah.
a perfect example of subjective versus objective knowledge. So in other words, subjective knowledge, if you're there and you see the tree fall, it makes a
Yeah,
sound.
yeah.
But if you're there and no one's there, there's no way to tell. It's objective.
Yeah, and watching movies, literature, poetry, which we were discussing before
Yeah.
the show, is very subjective.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I wanted to address, because for listeners, viewers, may not know the director, Wim Wenders, and why he's significant. He first started making films, to the best of my knowledge, in the early 70s. I don't know how many of his movies you've seen, but he was part of what was called the New German Cinema Movement. Are you familiar with that?
No.
That concept, okay. In 1961, the Berlin Wall went up, right, around West Berlin,
Okay.
okay? And there were a group of 26 young film directors, and there was a film festival for short films. I want to say Oberhausen, I believe, and it's called the Oberhausen Manifesto, and it was a statement that the old cinema of our fathers is dead, and that we want to establish a new voice for Germany in film, in cinema.
Wow.
And I think there were 26 names on the list, some of whom you would know, Volker Schlondorf, and many others. But he was one of the founders of this so-called movement, right?
Yeah.
Which sort of came to an end with the death of Rainer Werner Fassbinder in 1982. So it was like from 62 to 80.
So Fassbinder was in on this.
Fassbinder, Werner Herzog, Volker Schlondorf, Hans-Jürgen Seiberberg, who did that great film Our Hitler. I don't know if you've ever
I
seen
saw
that.
that was at Shays.
And
Did you go to that?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
No, I've seen it on video, but maybe not the greatest print. But I think what those young men and women were trying to do is come to terms with where Germany had been since World War II. And they saw that the barbarism of the Second World War as not just a cultural abomination and a political abomination and a moral abomination, but that it separated them from the tradition of German cinema that was so great in the 20s and early 30s, right? People like Murnau and Robert Weine and Fritz Lang, and this great expressionist movement in cinema that had just been obliterated along with millions of people by the Nazis. Okay, so I think it was a way to say that era of the Nazis is over, and now we have to come to terms with it. And these films wrestled with that theme, but many other themes. Werner Herzog, for him, I think it was about obsessive men. Volker Schlondorf, I think his initial concerns were coming to terms with what Germany had done in terms of anti-Semitism and the Holocaust and all the rest of it. But Wim Wenders, and I don't want to go on about this too long, but I think it's important to place him in a context. He made a series of films in the 70s which were road movies, people on the road, on a kind of a journey, right? I don't know if you've seen Kings of the Road. Alice in the Cities.
That's funny because I just asked the artificial intelligence program to tell us a list of his movies.
Okay.
So the first one was Alice in the Cities,
Yeah.
Kings of the Road, 76, The American Friend.
With Dennis Hopper, yeah.
A terminally ill man is drawn into a world of crime.
Yeah.
Paris, Texas.
Yep.
I saw that movie about you want to go back and visit your brother.
Yeah.
And then I wrote to my brother. I said, I'm thinking about coming out to Missouri to see you. And he goes, oh, do you have a terminal illness? I said, no, I just saw this movie about going back to see your brother, and I thought that would be a good idea.
Yeah. Until the End of the World which I don't know if you've seen that full-length version, but he still considers it to be the best thing that he's ever done. In fact, you recommended that I watch the Criterion Closet thing where he goes in and different directors and actors will pick movies off the shelf, right?
Did he pick out one
And
of his?
he said, I still consider this to be the best thing I've ever done. But then he said, who am I to judge my own work? You know?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to place him into a certain context. And Perfect Days is one of his recent films, and I think it's one of the best things that, in my opinion, that he's done in a very long time. And you asked me what I thought about Koji Yakusho and his decision to be in this film. I think he was perfect for it. I think it was great. Do you want to, we don't want to give spoilers away because I think that
Oh, we should give them away.
you do want to give
Oh,
spoilers
absolutely.
away.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right.
tell people we're
Okay.
going to give it away.
So, spoilers, guys, if you haven't seen the movie. How would you describe the film? And then we can talk about and break it down and analyze it and break it down and what we both saw in it.
Okay, what I saw in it is a celebration of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Oh, this would be good. We can talk over the movie here. Why don't we do that? Okay. I go like this.
Okay. So,
So should I fix that now so we can talk over the movie?
no, I think it's probably better to hear us talk rather than talk over the sound of a movie.
Okay.
Were they able to hear what I was
Not
saying?
while that movie was playing.
Okay,
so thank you, Joel.
So I'm going to say that again. Okay.
Oh, we got somewhere we didn't anticipate.
Oh, great.
I enjoy watching movies without sound through a porthole.
Okay.
Did you do the projections when you were a movie curator?
I did. Yeah, at Buff State.
You loaded up
for
the
a couple of
reels?
years at the old reel projectors. Yeah, I was a projectionist for a couple of years.
And then you got to hear the clackety, clackety, clackety.
Yeah.
But
you changed them when you would see that dot.
Dot.
That that indication that the reel was coming to an end in a few seconds.
And your co-curator was a woman from Japan.
Yeah, Mariko Tachihiwa.
Wow.
From Tokyo.
If
as a
she was
matter
on
of fact.
Facebook, we could tell
it would
her.
be ideal if I have not been in touch with her for 30 plus years.
But you know
so
how to
it's been-
spell her name,
It's
right?
been a long time.
Let's see if
I
she's
do.
a Facebook person. Wouldn't that be something?
I looked. She's not on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
I
Thank you.
tried to find her.
Okay, thank you.
I wasn't able to track her down yet.
Yeah, that
but-
would be wild.
Yeah. But what I was saying, I didn't realize that no one could hear my voice.
Yeah.
The genesis of this film,
Yeah.
Wim Wenders was contacted from some people in Tokyo if he would make a documentary film about the Tokyo Toilet Project. Now, what is that? His initial reaction was, I don't want to make a movie about toilets. Well, when he went to Tokyo,
Yeah.
he found out that there were, I don't know, more than a dozen architects who were called into Japan during COVID or towards the end of the pandemic to beautify the city, you know, and to create these really unique, distinctive toilets. For example, one of the toilets that I found really fascinating in the film
Yeah.
is you go inside and it's clear
Let's
glass.
let's
right?
show the people.
Yeah, and
Here.
so people
now,
could
now
see
they
it.
won't hear. I guess we can't
Well,
find it.
it's okay, but in any event, when you look from the outside, you can see through the glass
And
the
then-
toilet, and
then
then
when
when
you
you
flip-
you lock the door, it
It-
becomes opaque and
Right.
you can't see through. Right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating, and so each of these toilets, this was really an initiative in my mind anyway, and
Yeah.
I think in their minds,
Yeah.
not to give in to COVID. You know, to let's rise above this. And when Wim Wenders went to Tokyo, he said in an interview, because I saw him with Koji Yakusho talking about the film,
Yeah.
and it was actually a really good interview. And he said that one thing he noticed that in Germany and other European cities, European countries, right, during COVID, they let their public places go to shit. But he said in Tokyo, everything was beautifully preserved. And they went out of their way to take pride in their public places. And this Tokyo Toilet Initiative or project was instrumental in that effort to do this, okay?
Okay.
So that's where the genesis of the story comes from, right? And when we meet, what did I say that the character's name is? Haruyama or Hirayama? Can you check what his name was? And is it Hirayama?
You mean
The character's name,
the
Koji
character?
Yakusho's
Okay, so
character.
what do I type in? Who is the?
Just Koji Yakushi's character in Perfect Days.
Okay. Oh, how about list of characters in Perfect Days?
Yeah.
List of
I believe his name was Haruyama or Hirayama.
characters in
I've only seen it once about
movie
3 weeks ago, so my memory's a little vague.
Perfect Days, and the and it's computing. Hirayama.
Hirayama. Okay, so
he's the one Koji Yakamusho plays.
so each morning we see Hirayama wake up.
Yeah.
He lives in a rather small apartment, not much of a fancy place
Yeah.
by any manner of means. And yet everything in his life is very well organized and almost ritualized, and he has the same repeated pattern of each day.
Yeah.
He goes to work, and his job is to care for and clean these toilets, which on the surface sounds like a very lowly and demeaning. I've cleaned toilets.
Oh, here is
job.
the
So in any event, for those who were watching, sorry you can't hear our voices. It's not our fault. While we're streaming, they won't allow us to
make changes. Yeah.
project our voice. So in any event, for those who did watch, you can see how that toilet works. When you lock the door, it becomes opaque and you can't see inside.
I did not know there was glass like that.
But nor did I. But in any event, what we begin to discover about Hirayama is that he has a beautiful soul, and that, I mean, what's the name of the movie? Perfect Days.
Yeah.
That from his perspective, each day is perfect, each moment is beautiful and perfect, and he lives fully present. You'll never see the guy on a cell phone, constantly distracted.
He's got an old-fashioned flip phone.
Yeah, and one of the coworker, that young guy he's a kid, and you know, he's got a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah.
He's always on his cell phone, right? And he's constantly distracted. And watching the film, I don't know how you felt about it, Richard.
Yeah.
But it made me more present-minded when the credits rolled, and I just got back into my daily life. It made me really be more with the moment, more mindful. I don't know if it had that
Here's
impact on
his
you at all.
assistant. He keeps keeps doing things on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yes, everything's a 10 or an 8 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10. Yeah, and a really funny character. But I think that's how most of our minds are. You know, the Buddhists would call it a monkey mind. I'm not sure that I would consider this really a Buddhist film, but it does tie into that idea of Zen, of being very present and being fully in the moment. Right?
Here he is on a.
But what about the things that I've just discussed or described resonate with you? You know, just the brushing of the teeth, caring for those little plants or trees that he's growing, taking pictures of nature. I mean, at one point he said, "The trees are my friends." Remember? Yeah. And he has lunch every day in the same place.
Yeah.
And he sees that same woman who would ogle him while he's eating his sandwich, and he would get a little bit shy.
I just thought of something. You just said that.
Okay.
You know, at the end, he sees a woman kissing a guy.
Yeah.
And
the restaurant hostess, the place.
She's not the woman in the park, though.
No, she's not the woman in the park. She's the restaurant hostess. The one who isn't she the one who sang?
That was
she
the part
sang
I
the
was
House of the Rising Sun for everybody in the bar, and the guy that she was kissing, has cancer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But those who haven't seen the movie, I mean, I don't know why you would listen to this if you haven't seen the film anyway, but because you probably don't want it spoiled for you with good reason. I understand that, and I apologize if it seems like we're talking a bit in circles, but this is our first time doing this, so. But.
Oh, you were talking about him communing with nature.
And yeah, and I mean,
wait,
what about?
Let's show a little clip of that.
I don't know if you're aware of the fact. That shot of the trees reminded me of Kurosawa, and I wonder how much of this film was a tribute to some of those great Japanese film directors. Because first of all, I know that Wim Wenders' favorite director was Ozu. For him, this is like a sacred treasure of art, and I feel similarly about Ozu. But that shot of the trees. I don't know if you know the history of the movie Rashomon, but that was considered quite taboo at that time to shoot straight up at the sun and into the sky. Ooh. And there are lots of shots like that in Rashomon. Maybe I'm just, trying to confirm my own bias, or I'm looking for things to confirm what I know about Rashomon in the movie, but it's not impossible. And also, much in this film is very Ozu-like, because Ozu's films are about the quotidian, the ordinary, the everyday experience of life. And often in an Ozu movie, characters will leave a room, and the camera stays in the room because it says, you know what? This room, the space, matters. It has its own identity and its own presence that we should appreciate. That's the one another thing I loved about this film. It takes its time to appreciate the things that so many, like that kid, he's in a hurry. His mind is all over the place. Oh, I got to check my phone. That's how our minds are in our culture. I mean, we do live in an addictive society. As a teacher, I can attest to that. I see that all the time with high school students, But even within myself, I think I am more distracted now than I was when I was in my 20s because of the technology that we're bombarded with and that we're so umbilically attached to. So this movie for me and his character is a reminder that just to slow down and just look and just be. And there was, I don't think there's any foul language in the movie. I don't think there's any vulgarity in the film. There's no violence. And everything that you need about life is there, just to be more present with it. Any of that resonate with you, or did you have any, how did it affect you when you saw it? I guess that's my, but I interrupted you. You were about to say something.
But what I was about to say is there's a scene where he's having lunch in the park, and look who he runs into. Is he like asking the guy's permission to take the little sapling from the ground?
Yeah, because I think that's at a temple. It's at a Buddhist temple.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a public park.
I think it's also the outside is a public place, but it's an actual temple, and the priest on the grounds. I love that nonverbal communication.
Yeah, he just
okay.
points.
Is it okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yep.
Say hello to Mick.
That was beautiful. Hi, Mick. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see your words and your name. Can't see your face.
But then, do you think all those plants in his apartment he got from like tiny little seedlings that he found somewhere?
Yeah, that was my. I'm glad you brought that up. That is my assumption. Yeah, I think it is reasonable to conclude that. But then we go to find out there's more to this guy. Oh, and every morning, what does he do on the way to each place in his van?
Plays a different song.
Yeah, he plays. So we know that when he was younger, he's what? How old is he? This guy, 65. He's not a kid.
Okay.
Right. So clearly, when he was younger, he had a passion for music.
Yeah.
For rock music.
Yeah.
Right, which all of us did back in the 70s when he grew up.
Oh, do you think that's when
70s.
he accumulated his cassette collection?
I would think so, because cassettes are. Although there's a scene in the movie where it shows how cassettes are coming back.
Yeah.
Right. They reference that a few times, and they go to the record shop or where they sell old LPs and everything. And I read about that before I saw the movie somewhere, that cassette tapes are coming back. And I thought I didn't believe it, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they are in Japan. You see.
Do you think he chooses a song at random, or he knows what he's plugging in is going to be indicative of what he intends to observe that day?
It's hard to say, because there's so much that's unexplained, right?
Yeah.
There's so little dialogue in the movie.
Yeah.
I like the fact that, again, we are all projectors. You have to project your own meaning into this movie, right?
Right.
And that final scene, which I know we're going to talk about.
Oh, for sure. Because the song and whatever's going on underneath is very critical.
Yeah. Yeah. And his emotional reaction to it is really profound, right?
Right. So we will get to that.
We will. But we find out more about this character, Hirayama.
So here's a scene where he gets out of one of his toilet cleaning things, and he sees somebody like hugging a tree. Oh, that's a homeless guy.
He's a homeless person who's mentally troubled, and notice he also looks at everything without judgment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He doesn't really judge this kid. He gives him money.
Yeah.
He asks him to lend me money, and he's not going to pay it back.
Yeah.
And the only time he gets angry, or has any kind of emotional outburst, other than the end of the film, which we'll talk about later, as we said, is when the kid blows off work. And he says, you know, I can't show up. I'm done. I got another job, or whatever it was. I'll pay you back when I see you. Yeah. And he goes, wait a minute. What about your shift? And he has to work the shift.
Yeah,
remember?
Yeah.
He has to work a double shift.
Yeah. And
so
it takes him until like midnight.
Yeah. And that's the one time you see him get understandably and justifiably angry.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not overreacting, but you know, with good reason. But then as the story plays out, we don't know what his past is. I don't know if you wondered, but I wondered, why is a 65-year-old guy who is obviously very fastidious and disciplined and organized.
Yeah.
This isn't some guy who seems to have fucked up his life.
Yeah.
Why is he cleaning toilets
Yeah.
at 65? Or I think Koji Yakusho is 67, I believe. And actually the actor went around to the different toilets and he cleaned toilets. He trained a little bit and so he would appreciate that life and what it is to do that every day. And
see, that's what I thought the movie would be about, his backstory.
And we have to kind of fill those blanks in ourselves. And when did you start to feel you started to know something more about him?
When his niece showed up out of the blue.
Right.
And he took her in.
Yeah.
And said, "Why are you here?" She said, "I ran away from home."
Yeah.
Which would be his sister.
And his sister. So we come to find out what she stays a few days with him, right? Mm-hmm. And they develop a kind of a bond, don't they?
Yeah.
And she says at one point when they're riding their bikes, she says, can I come to see you again? And he says, now is now,
yes,
right?
Yes.
Next time is next time.
Yes.
So don't. In other words, just appreciate today that we're spending this time together. Don't ruin it by next time. You know, right? Enjoy today. So I think that's what that's what a lot of the movie is about.
Yeah.
It's a perfect day if you are open to it. If you're aware that it's happening, because so many of us are so distracted that the perfect day, or whatever the day is like, just we don't have the day.
Yeah.
Because our mind is so fucking all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that's true for me.
I think that's an important thing you're bringing up. You know, now is now, and
next time is next time.
Next time is next time.
Deal with it then.
Yeah. Yeah. So
there's the Zen, right?
Yeah.
Kind of component.
Zen is very much into time, isn't it? The present, the past, the future.
Yeah, I think so. Joel would be much more of an expert on this than I am or you are.
Correct. Correcto. So
then
he also meets this woman, which I think is supposed to be the girlfriend of his assistant.
Back. Because
So
he wanted to help the kid out.
He gave her a cassette.
So she would come back because I think he was trying to help his subordinate, this kid, this 22-year-old kid or whatever he is, with this girlfriend. Maybe in his own way. That was my interpretation of that.
Mm-hmm.
And she starts to cry in the truck, in the van. Remember
so
when she starts to...
she can sense the goodness of this man, right?
I think so. I think so. I think that it's interesting you say that, because there is an innate decency about him. Did you sense that?
I did.
Like a warmth, a humanity, a compassion, a kindness. Which that's another thing. It's refreshing to see that in movies, because we don't see that in movies anymore. Movies are escapist or aggressive or violent or sexual or controversial or political, but you rarely... It's certainly now, do you see films that just celebrate the ordinary decency of human beings? That's pretty unusual.
True.
Would you not agree?
True.
I mean, Kurosawa did that,
right.
for sure.
Yeah.
Wim Wenders was asked, Koji Yakusho and Wim Wenders, again, in a very short little segment, they were asked, what are your favorite movies? And Wim Wenders said anything by Ozu and Ikiru, which is a great film by Kurosawa. And Koji Yakushi said Redbeard, which is a Kurosawa film that, again, celebrates the decency of human beings. And that's relatively unusual now, certainly.
Peter Bogdanovich made a film called Saint Jack.
I didn't see it, but I know it wasn't Ben Gazzara in that
Yes,
movie?
and he's basically a very good person.
Mm-hmm.
Something you just said.
Yeah.
And when I saw that movie, I said, there's not a lot of movies about people who are just plain old good people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I have rewatched it.
Yeah.
Because I needed that fix, you know what I mean?
No,
I'm getting so much of the opposite.
And I actually see a lot of that in Wim Wenders' films. There's an ordinariness about his characters and his films very often that I find disarming and very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the world needs that today. The world needs to kind of quiet down. And I wanted to ask you this.
Yeah.
You have more than once told me that you think all art is political.
Yeah.
How is this movie political?
Because it's telling us what is important for us to focus on in life.
But isn't politics relegated to the governance of people and the those who govern?
Right. And
how does that connect?
Remember when Napoleon made Catholicism the official religion of France?
the Concordat.
And his one of his generals said to him, "Well, you don't believe in any of that." And his response was, "I don't. But if people want to focus on that instead of instead of criticizing me, I'm all in favor of it." See what I mean?
Okay.
So something ordinary that takes the focus away from the people in power is political.
Okay. I can see. I mean, I think that's a very broad definition of political in a sense. But yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Good. Richard is political, and Richard is a projector. Therefore, all art is political.
A syllogism.
Socrates, syllogisms now. Thanks, Joel. That was great, man.
Joel, you're losing logic.
Awesome. But then, this is where I was going with when I asked you about when did you notice that there's more to this guy than we see on the surface.
Yeah, we get to
when
see
his
his
sister
backstory.
shows up.
Yeah.
And she mentioned something about the father is sick, and I don't want to see dad. So clearly there's conflict with the father. Second thing is, this is an
You
affluent...
mean he says he doesn't want to see dad, or
Yeah,
she does?
she asks him, do you want father's ill or something to that effect? And no. So there's a conflict between the father and the son, number one. Number two, he comes from affluence because his sister
She got a
pulls
chauffeur.
up in a show with a chauffeur, right?
Yeah.
So his background is wealth. I mean, maybe not, but at least his sister has that. So, and she also says to him, "Why are you cleaning toilets?" I don't remember the exact dialogue, or the question, the way it was articulated, but the impression was made that what you're doing is unworthy of you, Hirayama. Why are you doing this? And he just looked somewhat ashamed, but it's my life, and he didn't answer her.
Right.
Okay, if I remember correctly. Again, I only saw it once 3 weeks ago, so for those who have seen it, maybe you could...
I mean, that would have been a good opportunity for him to tell his backstory, but he didn't.
No, but we can piece it together that there's pain in this man's life.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of pain, I think, if you're severed from your family, and if you once, at least in the eyes of society, were somewhere up here, and now in the eyes of not himself but of others, he's down here. There's pain involved in this man's life.
Do you think he inflicted it upon himself?
I don't know. We don't. And I who knows? That's, what the.
Let's play this for the people since we referenced it. And then they drive away, and they're both repeating that mantra. Now is now.
Now is
Next,
now.
next
Yeah.
time. Next time.
And he's so great in that movie. Just his facial expressions, like he gives off a warmth.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Sure.
And like a glow.
Yeah.
That you really feel. And I was really taken by this film, and I was taken off guard and by surprise.
Look at the warmth. See, he's sort of like cheerful about it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you just said it. Clearly, let's put these two things together. There's clearly suffering in this guy's life.
Yeah.
And yet he faces it with good cheer.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't complain. And he tries to find beauty in each day and in simple actions and the things that I think are really important that we often, don't see.
Mm.
And I'm not articulating it properly, but who can articulate something like this?
Mm-hmm.
It's an emotion, and there's the left brain, right brain thing, right?
Yeah.
You can analyze a film like this with the left side of your brain
Right.
logically, but I don't think it's a left brain movie. I think it's very right brain. It's very intuitive, and it's that like the ending of the movie, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
We should ask our viewer here, Phil Utek. Now, Phil, have you seen the movie? Leave us some text to that effect. And we'll see if he has seen it. But
or anyone has seen it.
Yeah, anyone. We would like to know if we're off base in a lot of. Oh, look who's here now. The woman with the chauffeur. Now they're going to have a face-to-face, and she's going to mention
the toilet. Why is he doing this? And
yeah, and let's see if I could find the exact wording about what she says.
Yeah, because I don't remember, but I know she says something about it. But
she does say that her husband, which would be his brother-in-law, has got a stroke or something, or she says he doesn't recognize anything anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, then it was not the father. It was her husband, his brother-in-law.
Wait a minute.
I thought it was the father.
Maybe you're right. Let's
I thought
see
it was
here.
the father.
Here's the exact quote.
Okay.
Okay.
So I didn't remember correctly. It was father, but again, there's pain in this guy's life, and we can piece little bits and pieces of his life together. And he goes to the same places every day, right? He has that same meal in the same, the noodle place or whatever each day. He goes to the same park every day to have his sandwich.
I'll tell you something I noticed.
Yeah.
This guy eats almost all his food at restaurants.
That's right.
And I was thinking, don't you make anything
don't you
yourself?
Make anything at home? Well, he probably, in that dump, he doesn't have much of a kitchen, right?
Right.
And then...
Or I was wondering, maybe that's Japanese culture. Maybe it's geared to always eat out.
Well, that may be the case.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he goes back to that restaurant,
mm-hmm.
where the hostess sang "House of the Rising Sun,"
yeah,
right, with the original words, by the way. The Animals didn't write that song. The original words were much more sexual, and it's literally and specifically about a brothel.
Yeah.
But the pop song was altered because it was considered deemed inappropriate.
Yeah.
But in any event, I just thought it was interesting that she sung it in Japanese with the original lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
But when he goes back there, I believe
she sang it in Japanese?
She sang it in Japanese,
okay.
I think. When he goes back there, she's kissing this guy.
Yeah.
And he sees her in a very intimate moment. And when he meets this guy later, we find out that he has cancer. And you remember how he comforted him and tried to help him forget about his cancer for a little while?
Yeah.
What did he do?
he said, let's play a game where we step on each other's shadow.
Yeah, shadow tag,
Yeah.
right? and he also.
I had never heard of that game. Did you?
No, I thought, what is this? Because that's what I asked myself out loud. I thought, what, shadow tag? I've never played that as a kid.
Yeah.
You just step on somebody's shadow, and they try to step on your shadow.
Yeah.
And also, nowhere during the whole movie do we ever see him drink alcohol. But after meeting with his sister,
Yeah.
and after her demeaning him for the work that he does, right? He gets some beer and he starts drinking the alcohol and smoking a cigarette, which he hasn't had in a long time because he starts to cough.
Wow.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. So
So
let's
to me-
play that for the
To
people.
me, yeah, it shows that he was
Okay.
trying to escape from his. So to me, this shows us that he's trying to escape. Maybe every day isn't always perfect, and he is carrying.
Like
So-
it's like this is foreign. His body is
Yeah,
rejecting
Yeah,
it.
he probably smoked when he was younger.
Yeah.
Like when I was a teenager, I smoked a few cigarettes because I thought it was cool, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Not a smoker. But I would cough too if I had a cigarette. So this indicates to me that he's trying to, I don't like how I'm feeling right now, and he's
Right.
trying to escape from it, numb the pain, drink some beer, and have a cigarette,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
he go revert to old habits, maybe. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what he did in the 70s when he was always listening to rock and roll music all the time.
Could be,
Right? All
could
those
be.
tunes on the cassette tapes. And then, of course,
Then he meets this guy here. Since I last smoked.
so both of them,
Yeah.
and he offers him a cigarette, he coughs.
Yeah.
The great, don't smoke anyway, but when you have cancer, it's probably really not a good idea. But then we layers upon layer, very subtly, have been added to this character, and we understand that there is more to him than just perfect days. That in a sense, I think how can I express this correctly? His joyful celebration of each day is actually a heroic act,
Mm-hmm.
because he's fighting some pain in his life. He's not Superman, and he's just like everybody else, right? And yet, in spite of that fact, he still summons the courage and the wisdom and the integrity and the moral grit to see the value in each moment and to celebrate that. And he's nice to people, which is so refreshing. He's kind to people around him. And I think that comes to the final. Did you have anything else to say along the road of because not a lot happens in the movie. So for people listening to this who haven't seen the film,
Yeah.
right? Joel, thank you. That's nice of you to say. Thank you. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. What a nice thing to say.
Wow.
That's very, very kind. And I could say the same about you, man. I've learned from you. I still think I still remember many lessons that I've learned from you, Joel, over the years. Just things that you said in conversation. So I would say the same about you. And thank you again. But at the end of the film,
Yeah.
the last scene of the movie, and remember there are spoilers here, guys. He puts on what song? I don't remember.
Well, it's the Nina Simone song, and it. If there was a name to that song, I would say it's "I Feel Fine." But
Well, in any event, he plays the song, and there's no more dialogue,
yeah,
and the camera's on his face, and we just see this range of emotion from joy, happiness, sorrow, tears come to his eyes, pain, suffering. Am I misrepresenting his reaction? What was your impression? Because I wasn't sure, was he happy or was he sad? and it seemed to be circumlocutiously going back and forth, one to the other.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
and-
let's play this for the people.
Huh.
All right?
Okay.
So So it's
And-
like the song is identifying with nature. The
Okay.
birds know how I feel.
Yeah.
The other things know how I feel. Is the director
So-
is the director trying to say to us, this is not an easy path to follow that this main character is on?
Maybe, but again, there's the left brain, right brain thing. Maybe this is the kind of thing that can't be articulated. Like, I think there are moments in art, or if you look at a painting, it's expressed there, but you can't verbalize it. Like in music, there are passages in music that you can't articulate in words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know Hector in the Search for Happiness.
Yeah, I don't know that either, Joel.
But that sounds like is it a movie, Joel?
Because if it is,
I'm
maybe we could make that a future episode.
Check that out.
It's incidentally one of Joel's favorite movies. I thought this was humorous, but you never know.
What?
Kung Fu Panda.
Really?
He thinks there's a lot of teaching in that movie.
There might be. I haven't seen it.
If he
I
joins
can't
us on a future episode, maybe we could show that.
discuss that.
He could tell us everything
Yeah.
that has greater meaning in Kung Fu Panda. It wouldn't be that strange, because when I took a cinema course at UB,
Mm-hmm.
the professor said, we're going to start off with one of the most profound movies of the 20th century,
And what was it?
Quadrophenia.
Really?
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like, what, isn't that like about pop culture in England with the Who did the soundtrack, you know? And
Well, again, it's all perspective, and there's often more to movies than meets the eye. So,
well, sure enough, he watched it, and then when we went to class, he told us all the significance
Yeah.
in the movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But I think that's true of a lot. I think many things that we see, many films we watch, or music that we listen to, we don't take the time to really look deeply at it. And maybe Kung Fu Panda is an example of a movie that has a lot of depth, right? Number 4.
Yeah.
So there's been a 1, 2,
We
a
should
3,
ask
and a
Joel
4.
if 1, 2, and 3,
Live up to.
if they're all the same,
Okay.
you know? Or, I mean, are they improvements on each other and things like that?
Because sequels
I
often.
think what it's about is this panda bear wants to study martial arts, and at the same time, he's studying Zen discipline.
Okay.
Or he has to learn one in order to understand the other, something like that.
Well, martial arts has a lot of philosophy, and Zen certainly does. So I think that there very well may be there. I mean, if Joel says it's there, I'm sure it's there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that insight and wisdom. But I think again that the final scene of the film, that
Here, let's play a little bit more. Could
go
we
ahead.
say that ending scene is like a key to the movie?
But I think it's a key that unlocks your own interpretation of it. I mean, I don't know if there can be one definitive explanation.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those moments in art that is wordless. Like when Father Zosima, you're familiar, you probably read The Brothers Karamazov.
Yeah.
When Father Zosima bows down in front of Dmitri what does it mean? It's never really fully explained. It's just
Right.
a gesture.
Right,
It's
right.
profound and it's really memorable, okay? A key change, like in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony when it goes into C major, dun, 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 dun. What does that mean?
Yeah.
How do you articulate that?
Right.
It's amazing. It's awe-inspiring. I don't know how to, but this again it's a wordless expression. It's almost like a Zen koan when a student will ask a question and the teacher will respond in a way that seems very bizarre. It's without words. And again, that's something that Joel would know a whole lot more about than I or you would. But
But by key, what I mean is it's a opportunity that a person watching it can say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make that into a key to understand the movie. Remember in The Godfather 1?
yeah,
Do you know what people have said is the key to that movie?
no.
When the Undertaker comes to pay his respects after Don Corleone's been shot, and Michael says to him, "Oh, you want to do a favor for your Don? Here, put your collar up. You stand outside here with me."
Yeah.
Remember the scene?
I do.
And then the guy's trying to light a cigarette. He's
Yeah.
going like this.
Yeah.
And Michael lights
I don't
it.
think it was the Undertaker though. I think he was a friend of the family.
Oh, I thought it was the Undertaker.
Yeah.
And then Michael Corleone lights the guy's cigarette, and you get to see how perfectly calm Michael is and how this guy is like this.
Oh,
and it
okay.
shows that Michael's arc has changed from the guy who, that's my family, not me, to I'm one of them now.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting. So it's a very subtle sign of that progression of his character arc.
Right.
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 Yeah. We're not talking about The Godfather, but I never found Michael Corleone's transformation very convincing because he always seemed like he's a nice guy. He's a war hero. That's not my family. And then all of a sudden he's a serial killer, virtually, right? He's a sociopath.
Right.
By the end of the film.
So you never picked up
I
on
don't-
the lighter thing.
I never picked up on that.
Yeah.
Well, I know I probably did, but I never maybe made the connection. But
So back to this
back
movie.
to the movie.
Here's the very final thing we see. Yeah.
Yeah, fades. I don't know. I like the fact that we can discuss this and there's no definitive answer to the movie. I mean, you know, what does it mean? Because actually Wim Wenders talked around this when Koji. I would recommend it. If I can find the link, I'll send it to you.
Vim and Koji
Wim
are on
Wim
YouTube?
Wenders and Koji Yakusho are on YouTube. It's a public thing. It's in front of an audience, and they discuss the film. And they sort of talked around it. They didn't really address, they didn't give a meaning to the film or, as you say, unlock the key to the meaning of the film.
Yeah. This is the thing that you and I discussed when we were having a meal. He's sleeping. So he's sleeping, and yet the shadows of the leaves somehow
Yeah.
are in his mind, would you say?
I don't know. I guess probably in his mind. It's a beautiful image.
And then there's this collage.
Well, if that's
Is that him?
or the homeless man that was out in
Yeah.
the streets, I couldn't tell who that was. It's, yeah, I think it's
So
a
the
profound
shadows
film.
are, you
And-
think they're a reference to another movie?
Well, I don't know if it's a reference. It could be. What it reminded me of very vividly, because I recently showed Rashomon to my psychology students.
Yeah.
You know, we did our unit on perception, okay? And there are shots that I never noticed before. In the forest, there's a scene where, you know, each of the story, each character tells a different version of the crime that was
Right.
committed, right? And when the woman is looking at her husband and he's looking at her, blaming her for having been raped in front of him, right? Yeah. As we look over the shoulder, we see a very similar image to that with the leaves, a pattern of leaves on his kimono, okay? and it's quite similar to that. And I never noticed it before, but it's very striking. You know, so it just reminded me of that.
Well, we have to say goodbye to the people.
Yeah, we've only got half a minute.
Yeah. You have any final thoughts to say goodbye with?
Well, thanks for those who listened and attended.
Mick, Phil, Utek,
Phil, Joel.
Joel, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And forgive us if we were a little circumlocucious in our discussion, but it's our first time, so give us a break.
Yeah, and the next time we do this, you will be able to hear our voice over the
Okay.
clips. So sorry
man.
about that.
All right.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.